we are looking at a moment in American justice that is, well, it's really historically unique, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. We're talking about the criminal indictment of former FBI Director James Comey, federal charges.
Right. False statements, obstruction of a congressional proceeding,
Yeah.
serious stuff. But the real story here, it feels like, is how it all happened. The speed, the political pressure behind it.
That's exactly it. And that's what we want to unpack for you. This isn't just about the charges on paper. It's about this extraordinary campaign, really a procedural drama that led to them.
Our sources give us this incredibly clear timeline. You really suggest the system kind of buckled under political demands.
Richly seems that way.
So our goal today is to really map out how this went down. How do you get from a public demand from the president to a federal indictment in less than a week?
Yeah, that's the kicker, isn't it? The indictment landed just 5 days after President Trump publicly called for Comey's prosecution. 5 days.
5 days. That just sounds incredibly fast for the federal system.
It's remarkable, especially for something this big, politically speaking. The DOJ usually moves, carefully, deliberately.
So this timeline, it points to an urgency that maybe bypassed some of those usual steps.
That's the implication, yeah. So to figure out why, we need to go back to the very start. That moment, the fuse was lit, basically. September 20th, the presidential order.
Okay, let's start there. Trump posts this message on Truth Social. Not a quiet memo, right? This was public. An explicit instruction aimed right at Attorney General Pam Bondi.
It felt less like commentary and more like an operational directive.
Yeah, an order.
Definitely operational signaling. And it wasn't just that he names Comey, Senator Schiff, Letitia James, the New York AG.
Right.
It was the all caps demands, basically telling his cabinet, do this now.
He really didn't hold back. He wrote, they're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done.
And then that urgency, justice must be served now, in all caps.
Wow.
And you have to remember the context he gave for this. He tied it directly to his own legal situation.
Ah, right. The impeachments, the indictments.
Exactly. He said, we can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. So prosecuting his political targets was framed as, necessary for the country's image.
So, okay, public demand for immediate prosecution of specific people. But it wasn't smooth sailing, was it? The system didn't just snap to attention immediately.
No, not at first. There was immediate resistance, and it caused a pretty big shockwave internally.
Right, because that same day, September 20th, Eric Siebert resigned.
He did. The U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, a career prosecutor, 15 years, worked under Democrats and Republicans.
And Trump had publicly said he wanted Siebert out, didn't he?
Yes, and Siebert's office, they'd been looking into Trump's targets for months, apparently, but hadn't brought charges.
Which gets us to the core issue. Reports suggest career prosecutors in that office had told leadership they just couldn't find probable cause against Comey.
And that lack of probable cause, that's really vital for you to grasp. It means the professionals, the career staff, looked at the evidence and decided, nope, not enough here to charge a former FBI director based on his testimony.
So when the boss gets replaced for not bringing those charges...
It strongly suggests political will trumped the legal assessment of the evidence, and that's a serious crack in the independence of the Justice Department.
And the replacement happened incredibly fast, too.
Almost instantly. Lindsay Halligan was appointed acting U.S. attorney.
And her background is key here, isn't it?
Absolutely critical. She was Trump's personal defense attorney for his classified documents case.
Going from defending the president personally to leading the prosecution office. That's a big shift.
It sends a very clear signal, right? The priority seemed to be compliance, maybe over continuity of legal standards. And this speed, it all ties back to a ticking clock.
Exactly. There was a deadline looming.
A hard deadline. The 5-year statute of limitations for the charges linked to Comey's testimony was about to expire. End of September 2025. Like next week from when this all happened.
So if they didn't indict before September 30th...
that specific window would have closed forever, which explains the rush, the need to get a compliant prosecutor in place within those 5 days.
It sounds like they basically had to swap out the leadership in Virginia at high speed just to beat this deadline they were facing.
That seems to be the sequence of events, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the charges themselves. What exactly are they based on?
They stem from Comey's testimony back on September 30, 2020. He was testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee.
During that investigation into the Crossfire Hurricane probe, the Trump-Russia stuff,
That's the one. He was under oath being questioned by Senator Ted Cruz specifically.
and the grand jury indicted him on 2 counts.
2 felony counts, yes. And it's worth just quickly spelling out what they are because they're distinct.
Okay, please do.
So first is obstruction of a congressional investigation. That's under 18 U.S.C. 1505. Second is making a false statement under 18 U.S.C. 1001.
So Section 1001 is the lie itself.
Pretty much, yeah. The specific statement he allegedly made under oath that wasn't true. Section 1505 is broader. It's about obstructing the committee's whole investigation. Not just lying, but actively impeding Congress's work. It's generally seen as the more serious charge.
And what was the specific lie alleged in the indictment, the core of the false statement?
The indictment claims Comey falsely testified that he did not authorize someone at the FBI to be an anonymous source. The prosecution is arguing that wasn't true regarding how some sensitive FBI information got out.
But even with all this pressure, the grand jury didn't just approve everything put in front of them.
That's a really important point. Court documents show they actually rejected a third potential false statement count that the prosecution wanted.
Okay, so not a complete rubber stamp.
Not entirely, no. It shows some independence there. But still, 2 felony counts were approved. If convicted on both, Comey could face up to 5 years in prison.
So the indictment is filed.
Yeah.
And the reactions, well, they're pretty much what you'd expect, right? Very divided.
Oh, absolutely. Instant political theater. Trump took what you could call a victory lap on Truth Social.
What did he say?
He called Comey one of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to, labeled him the former corrupt head of the FBI. For his supporters, this was like, finally, accountability.
And Comey's response.
Equally dramatic, but defiant. Posted on Instagram, said, "I am not afraid. My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either." Framing it as resistance.
What about the official DOJ line?
Attorney General Pam Bondi put out a statement, the standard, no one is above the law, talked about holding powerful people accountable. And the FBI Director, Kash Patel, he also weighed in, mentioning past corrupt leadership that supposedly weaponized law enforcement.
This all brings us to a really critical point for you, the listener, to consider. The long-term impact. This isn't just about Comey or Trump, is it? It's about the Justice Department itself, the politicization of it all.
Exactly. The real aha moment here is realizing that this single case seems to confirm the worst fears many legal experts and people in Congress have had.
Fears about what specifically?
That Trump has essentially rolled back key reforms put in place after Watergate.
Can you remind us what those were for? Why they matter?
Sure. Those post-Watergate reforms were all about ensuring prosecutorial independence. They were meant to build a kind of firewall between the White House and the DOJ.
To stop presidents from ordering prosecutions of their enemies.
Precisely. To prevent a president from directly influencing or ordering the investigation or prosecution of political rivals. This case, well, it looks like a pretty stark example of that firewall coming down.
And breaking down that wall, that sets a precedent, doesn't it? A potentially dangerous one, regardless of who's president.
That's the big concern, yes. If you connect the dots, the warning is clear. This could pave the way for future presidents to weaponize the justice system against opponents, just for criticizing them or investigating them.
Senator Mark Warner commented on this, right?
He did. He said Trump has made clear that he intends to turn our justice system into a weapon for punishing and silencing his critics. And, the system's integrity depends heavily on the public believing it's fair. A 5-day turnaround after a presidential demand that damages the perception of fairness significantly.
It's the sequence, isn't it? The public demand, the firing of the prosecutor who didn't find cause, installing the personal lawyer, the indictment just before the deadline, all in 5 days. That sequence feels unique and maybe a challenge to democratic norms.
That choreography, that speed, that's what people will be studying for years. The long-term significance really hinges on this idea of prosecutorial independence.
So what happens next?
Well, in the immediate future, Comey will have to appear in federal court in Virginia for his arraignment. The case itself, that'll likely take months, maybe even years, to play out.
And we should also keep an eye on those other names Trump mentioned, right? Schiff and James.
Absolutely. Will the DOJ pursue cases against them too, now that this precedent with Comey has been set? It feels like a real test of whether the rule of law can handle this kind of overt political pressure.
Yeah. The question for you, really, is what does this 5-day whirlwind tell us about the future? About the integrity of federal law enforcement when politics and legal judgment collide like this?
It's a fundamental question.
We'll definitely keep following this story as it unfolds. If you happen to be listening on YouTube, please do remember to like this video and subscribe for more analysis like this.
And if you're listening over on Spotify, hitting that follow button is the best way to make sure you don't miss our next discussion, especially as we track these ongoing constitutional questions.